Hi everyone, it is Dr. Jane with Avalon Rises, and I am here with another episode of A Planet Among the Stars. And this episode is going to be a little bit long. You might want to watch it in pieces because this week has been huge. I don't know if any of y'all can feel it, but it has been a really big week energetically. Really a lot has been going on, huge shifts in energy, and it can feel a little abrupt, right? A little bit shocking. And so I want to kind of walk through some of the things that have been going on this week. And you know, I mean, I don't know anybody who's been spared. We've all been in it. I've been in it. But with kind of the clarity on what's going on, you know, we can really harness this opportunity to progress. But it's not without risk. So we want to make sure that we are having that clarity so that we actually go forward instead of maybe taking wrong turns. So there are two huge kind of energetic shifts that have happened this week. I'm going to be focusing mostly on the energy of Aries, the energy of Pluto, and the energy of Aquarius, because these are the three major energies that are now playing a big role in our lives right now. And those are the big shifts that have happened this week. And generally, these energies are most palpable when there's been a shift, when they're new. And so the very first thing that happened this week is we started off this week with the sun transitioning from Pisces into Aries. I'm going to be real. I cannot think of two more diametrically opposed energies than Pisces and Aries. They are totally opposite. Pisces is the last sign of the Zodiac. Aries is the first. Pisces is the ancient wisdom. Aries is the impetuous warrior. You know, Pisces is a mutable water sign. Aries is a fixed fire sign. So, like, huge differences here. You know, Pisces is the crone and Aries is the baby. Like, it's all very, very different. And the transition from Pisces into Aries is also the astrological new year, and it occurs on the spring equinox. So it's a huge time of new beginnings, energetically. And this aspect to this energy was massively amplified this year by the fact that it overlapped with a new moon also in Aries. So new moons are already energetically times of cycle closure and cycle opening, new beginnings. And so to have that new moon be carrying the energy of the new moon, which is new beginnings, and the energy of Aries, which is new beginnings, and to fall directly on the solar time of the year, where we are now having the solar return into new beginnings, is really a lot of new beginning energy. And you probably heard people talk about it, right? Because everybody was feeling it. But you know, one thing that I think maybe gets overlooked when we talk about new beginnings is the fact that when something begins, something else ends. And new beginnings, we focus on this, rightfully so, from a really optimistic and bright and shiny place. But what I had was a lot of people reaching out to me this week being like, Jane, what's going on? I thought this was supposed to be new beginnings, and I feel like death. Well, so death is the beginning of birth, right? And so you cannot have something new without letting go of something old. You cannot have a new beginning without stepping out of or closing another cycle. And so, yes, this energy and this time was hugely a time of opening, but it was also a time of closing. And you can think the transition from Pisces into Aries energetically is very much like leaving the womb and being born, like a brand new baby. And on the one hand, birth is a beginning, of course, it's the beginning of life, but it's also the ending of gestation, of pregnancy. It's leaving a comfort zone. And birth takes some force, right? I mean, we don't want to push it too hard, but at the same time, babies don't just fall out. Like, birth is difficult. It takes effort. You kind of have to push. And being born and making that transition from, especially with so many new beginnings happening, all that energy overlapping at once, a lot of people kind of felt pushed, kicked out of the womb. And on the one hand, this is amazing, but you may have found yourself really outside of your comfort zone, pushed outside of your comfort zone. And not unlike a newborn baby feels when they get pushed outside of their comfort zone. But knowing this, honor that place. And, I had a lot of people expressing to me this dissonance of like, well, I feel like everybody's telling me I'm supposed to be feeling really optimistic and excited, but I feel really uncomfortable. And that's okay. And really what I tried to tell people there was the fact that you're feeling uncomfortable is actually the good sign. Because that means you're somewhere new. Growth never happens in our comfort zone. Ever. Progress never happens in our comfort zone. Ever. So if you were feeling uncomfortable this week, that actually is great, because it means you got pushed somewhere new, somewhere where you can now grow and progress. But if you don't recognize it as such, then we can resist. And the last thing we want to do when we are being pushed into new beginnings is resist or hold on, right? Birth, just as much as it is about pushing into a new beginning, is also about letting go. And so this new moon and this week was a really, really, really good time to let go. And it maybe highlighted for you what you need to let go of. And if you did not surrender, that's okay. It's never too late. You can still let go. You can hear this and be like, oh crap, I've been fighting letting this go, and it's a battle and it's miserable, and I just need to let it go and move forward in my life, whatever it is. That's still an option, still an opportunity. Just because the new moon is past doesn't mean you can't still let go. And so, this is very much what this week has been highlighted by in the beginning of this week, and what Aries is in a lot of ways about, because the archetype of Aries is the sacred warrior. So there's some vices to Aries, which we want to avoid at this time. Aries can be impetuous, rash, aggressive. It's ruled by Mars. Aries can move too fast. You'll probably have noticed that the Aries season energy is very fast moving, especially compared to Pisces. Action, very action oriented. And on the one hand, this is great because you can get a lot done, you can make a lot of forward movement, but you need to make sure you're moving in the right direction. Otherwise, you're just going to make a lot of movement towards something that's not aligned, and you're going to get course corrected. You're going to get redirected. So we want to avoid moving too quickly, which is going to come back up when I talk about Pluto here in a minute. But Aries, in its virtues, in its true archetypal energy, is the sacred warrior. And it is about finding your true purpose and your mission and fighting for your individual mission. And so this is very much what we're being called to in this moment, is to step into that. And that may mean letting go of what is holding us back, which is totally okay, but not always easy, right? So if you've been feeling like you're out of your comfort zone, feeling kind of harsh energy, disorienting, right? It's very disorienting to be out of your comfort zone, to be pushed into something new. You're not alone. Just recognize that's what's happening, and it's actually a really good thing, because it's actually bringing you to an opportunity to move forward on your sacred mission with that. And this is going to be augmented, significantly augmented, by the other massive event that happened this week. Just yesterday, on Thursday, Pluto, for the first time since 2008, transited into a new sign. It transited into Aquarius. And Pluto is a very interesting planet. Pluto is the planet of death and rebirth. Okay, so there's that theme again. And the energy for Pluto's transit was already gathering at the beginning of this week. So we had an enormous amount of death, rebirth energy this week, just really piling on. And on the one hand, that's amazing, right? Because it's progression, but it's not always easy. And that's okay. But Pluto transiting into Aquarius is also more than just you. Pluto is one of the collective planets, so it's going to affect not just your personal experience, but it is also going to work with the collective. And Aquarius is the innovator, right? Aquarius is the innovative sign. It's also a very humanitarian sign. It's a very technologically oriented sign. And this is very much ushering in the new paradigm. And Pluto in Aquarius is going to be in Aquarius for about 20 years. And Pluto in Aquarius is really going to ask us collectively to let die all of the institutions that are holding us back from progressing as a humanity, as a collective, and instead to birth new institutions that are going to actually be much more in alignment with Aquarian values and the new paradigm world. So this could be rough. You know, a lot of people have been talking about how the last time Pluto was in Aquarius was at the end of the 1700s. It was during the French Revolution. And, you know, the hallmark of the French Revolution, right, is equality and égalité, fraternité. It's late. I'm tired. I know it. But, you know, equality, fraternity, liberty. There we go. Liberty, equality, and fraternity, or brotherhood. And these are very much the values of Aquarius. Freedom to be your authentic self. Equality and brotherhood amongst the collective, right? The humanitarian understanding. And so, you know, this hallmark energy is going to be really called up in the next 20 years. But it's also going to be called up for you in your life. And we may be feeling the combination of all of these energies, maybe really pushing you to like really transform your life. And on the one hand, that's great. Okay. You know, we want to progress, but we want to progress. We want to transform our lives in the ways that are actually going to move us forward, not just create a giant mess. And so the number one piece of advice I'm giving everybody right now to deal with all these energies is to slow down. Okay? And Pluto moving into Aquarius is going to give you this urge to like overhaul your whole life. But we have a rare opportunity because Pluto is entering Aquarius, and then in a few months, just a couple months, it's going to retrograde and it's going to go back into Capricorn. So it's going to like go into Aquarius and then it's going to scoot back. And this is actually the perfect time not to make any massive changes, but to instead imagine them and reflect on them. Play around with them in your mind. Maybe experience them in small ways. Dabble, experiment, because the other thing about Aquarius is it is the experimenter of the zodiac. It is the scientist of the zodiac. And so Pluto in Aquarius is calling us to try new things and experiment with them, but not necessarily overhaul everything right away. And don't forget, we've got Saturn in Pisces, asking us to build the life of our dreams, but asking us to do it in a really sustainable, realistic, rational way. So you can see how this combination of energies could either go really bad or really great. You could either make a bunch of rash, illusion-based decisions that tear a bunch of stuff down and create a giant mess, or you could have the inspiration to gain clarity on your sacred mission, let go of what you need to let go of, experiment with what is right for you and your authentic expression, and then implement that in a sustainable, constructive way. These are our options with this combination of energy right now. And if you're like, Dr. Jade, I really want option B, get a life activation. Number one piece of advice that I could have for you. If you've already had a life activation, then take Empower Thyself and use the tools to gain the clarity. And if you've already taken Empower Thyself, then take another step further, do some more healings, talk to me personally about what would be best for you. Because these are what these tools are for. So if you are wanting to align yourself with your mission, there is nothing more powerful than a life activation to do that for you. And if you are wanting to propel yourself forward on your mission with clarity, there is nothing more powerful than taking Empower Thyself and using those tools in your life. So yes, the energies are here for us to do exactly that. Align ourselves with our sacred mission, have the drive to follow through on it, have the drive to make the changes, have the courage, which is another virtue of Aries, have the courage to make those changes, innovate in our lives, experiment in our lives, and use the energy of Saturn and Pisces to build the life of our dreams in a sustainable, replicable way. But we have to have the clarity. We have to have the clarity. And if we are just flying by the seat of our pants, we're going to make decisions based on the vices of those energies instead. We're going to tear down stuff that doesn't need to be torn down. And we're going to create more messes. And we're not going to move forward. We're going to move backwards. So this is why we have these tools. This is why I do what I do. Because this gives you discernment, it gives you the clarity so you can move forward confidently and know that you are aligning yourself energetically with where you need to go, and your life will align with you as well. So I hope that this helped, and as always, feel free to reach out. Our email is in the comments or in the info section on the video. So is our Instagram, and we love to hear from you. And hang in there. It's an exciting ride.